The shovel pierced the earth with a sickening thud, each strike echoing like a heartbeat in the dead of night. Eleanor Hawthorne, her frail hands trembling under the weight of 85 years, wiped sweat from her brow as moonlight cast long shadows across her wrinkled face. She had to finish before dawn, before anyone discovered her secret buried deep beneath the soil of her forgotten backyard. It started with a whisper of wind through the old oak tree, but soon the neighbors' curtains twitched. Mrs. Jenkins across the street, ever the vigilant soul, peered out her window at 2 a.m., her heart racing at the sight of the elderly widow digging furiously. "She's finally lost it," Mrs. Jenkins muttered, dialing 911 with shaky fingers, convinced that Eleanor was hiding something sinister, perhaps a body, or worse. The police arrived quietly, their flashlights slicing through the darkness like accusatory fingers. Officer Ramirez, a young man with a badge still shiny from the academy, approached first, his partner, Sergeant Hale, trailing behind with a hand on his holster. "Ma'am, we received a call about suspicious activity," Ramirez said, his voice firm but tinged with concern as he shone the light on Eleanor's dirt-streaked face. She straightened slowly, leaning on the shovel like a crutch, her blue eyes meeting his with a mix of defiance and exhaustion. "I'm just tending to my garden," Eleanor replied, her voice a fragile thread in the night air. But the hole was too deep for midnight planting, and the officers exchanged glances. Hale stepped forward, his years on the force making him skeptical. "Mind if we take a look, ma'am? For your safety." Eleanor hesitated, her mind flashing back to decades of buried pain, but she nodded, stepping aside as they took over the digging. As the shovel hit, something solid, a metallic clang that reverberated through the yard. The air grew thick with anticipation. Ramirez knelt down, brushing away the soil to reveal a rusted metal box, its lid etched with faded engravings. Hale radioed for backup, his voice low. "We've got something here. Not sure what, but it's big." Eleanor's heart pounded. This was not how she wanted her story unearthed. The box was heavy, caked in earth that spoke of years hidden away. As they pried it open under the glare of police lights now flooding the yard, the contents spilled out not in horror, but in quiet revelation. Stacks of yellowed letters tied with frayed ribbons, faded photographs of a young couple in love, and a small velvet pouch that jingled softly. Gold coins, antique, valuable, tumbled into the dirt, but it was the letters that drew gasps. "These look old, like World War II era," Ramirez murmured, unfolding one carefully. Eleanor's eyes welled with tears as memories flooded back. She had been 20 when she met Thomas, her husband, in the bustling streets of New York during the war. He was a soldier on leave, she a nurse tending to the wounded. Their love was a whirlwind, stolen kisses in alleyways, promises whispered under blackout curtains. But war tore them apart. Thomas shipped out to Europe, leaving her with a ring and a heart full of hope. The letters chronicled their separation, Thomas's vivid descriptions of trenches in France, the fear that gnawed at him, and his undying love for Eleanor. "My dearest Ellie," one began, "the bombs fall like rain, but your face keeps me warm in this hell." She had written back faithfully, her words a lifeline across the ocean. But then the telegrams came missing in action, presumed dead. Eleanor had collapsed that day, her world shattering into pieces. Yet she survived, raised their daughter alone, who grew up without a father, marrying young and moving away. Eleanor buried her grief in the backyard. Literally, Thomas had sent her those gold coins from a hidden stash in Europe, smuggled back as a promise of their future. "If I don't make it, use this to start over," his last letter said. But she couldn't. It felt like blood money. So she buried it, along with the letters, vowing to forget. Tonight, the pain had resurfaced. Her granddaughter, Lily, now 25, had called earlier, distraught over her own failing marriage. "Grandma, how did you endure it all?" Lily asked through sobs. Eleanor, feeling the weight of her unspoken truths, decided it was time. She would dig up the past, share it with Lily, teach her about resilience and love's enduring power. But now, with police swarming, it all felt exposed. "This isn't what it looks like," Eleanor whispered, sinking to her knees. Hale, reading a letter aloud softly, paused. "Ma'am, these are personal. But the gold, where did it come from?" Eleanor explained haltingly, her voice breaking as she recounted Thomas's story. The officers listened, their suspicion melting into empathy. Backup arrived, including Detective Lang, a seasoned investigator with a soft spot for war stories his own grandfather had fought in Normandy. As they cataloged the items, Lang noticed something odd, a sealed envelope at the bottom, unmarked. "This one's different," he said, handing it to Eleanor. With trembling hands, she opened it, revealing a photograph she had never seen: a young Thomas holding a baby, dated after his supposed death. The twist hit like a thunderclap. That's my daughter," Eleanor gasped. But the date was wrong. Thomas had survived? The envelope contained a final letter. "Ellie, if you're reading this, I've made it back, but couldn't face you. The war changed me. I watched from afar, ashamed. Forgive me." Eleanor's world spun. Thomas had lived, hidden in the shadows of her life. The police, stunned, promised to investigate. But for Eleanor, it was a rebirth of grief and wonder. As dawn broke, she clutched the photo, whispering, "You fool, Thomas. We could have had more time." The neighborhood buzzed that morning, rumors flying like birds. Mrs. Jenkins, feeling guilty, brought over coffee, her eyes wide. I'm so sorry." Eleanor smiled faintly, inviting her in. Inside her modest home, filled with faded wallpapers and dusty photo albums, she began to share her story not just with the police, but with those around her. Officer Ramirez stayed behind, helping catalog the letters for historical value. "My abuela went through something similar," he confided. "Lost her husband in Korea. These stories matter." Eleanor nodded, feeling a connection she hadn't in years. The gold, appraised later, was worth a fortune, but she decided to donate it to a veterans fund, honoring Thomas's memory. As the day wore on, Lily arrived, summoned by Eleanor's call. The young woman, with Eleanor's blue eyes, hugged her tightly. "Grandma, what happened?" Eleanor led her to the backyard, now taped off but alive with possibility. "Sit, child. Let me tell you about your grandfather, a man who loved us enough to hide." Through tears and laughter, Eleanor unraveled the threads of her life. The letters painted a portrait of love tested by fire, of a woman who built a life from ashes. Lily listened, her own troubles paling in comparison, drawing strength from Eleanor's quiet fortitude. But as evening fell, another visitor knocked, an old man, weathered and bent, his eyes mirroring Thomas's in the photographs. "Ellie," he said, voice cracking. It was him, Thomas, alive at 90, drawn by the news reports of the dig. The police had traced him through old records, but he came on his own. The reunion was electric, charged with decades of unspoken words. "I was a coward," Thomas admitted, tears streaming. Eleanor, heart full, forgave him in an instant. "We have now," she said, pulling him close. The family, fractured for so long, began to mend under the same moon that had witnessed the digging. Yet, the story wasn't over. In the letters, hints of a greater secret emerged. Thomas had been a spy. The gold from Nazi confiscations he redirected to help refugees. The police, delving deeper, uncovered a network of unsung heroes. Eleanor's backyard held not just personal treasures, but a piece of history that rewrote narratives of bravery. As nights passed, Eleanor and Thomas sat in the yard, watching stars. Lily, inspired, reconciled with her husband, vowing to cherish every moment. The community rallied, turning Eleanor's home into a hub of storytelling, where the elderly shared their hidden pains, fostering bonds that healed old wounds. In the quiet aftermath, Eleanor realized digging up the past had unearthed not just artifacts, but the human spirit's capacity for forgiveness and love. The police, forever changed, patrolled with softer eyes, remembering the night they found not crime, but redemption. With Thomas back in her life, Eleanor's days transformed from solitary routines into a tapestry of rediscovered joy. Mornings now began with shared coffee on the porch, where his gnarled hands intertwined with hers, recounting tales of survival that had been locked away for too long. "I crossed the Atlantic on a freighter, Ellie," he said one dawn, his voice hoarse with emotion. "Thought I'd died inside, but seeing you know it's like breathing again." Lily, staying over to bridge the generational gap, absorbed every word. She had brought her husband, Mark, along, their marriage on the mend thanks to the raw honesty spilling from her grandparents' stories. "I never knew love could endure like this." Lily whispered to Mark as they watched Eleanor and Thomas laugh over a faded photo album. The young couple's arguments seemed trivial now, overshadowed by the epic scale of loss and reunion. But peace was fleeting. Detective Lang returned with news that rippled through their fragile happiness. The gold coins there linked to a larger cache from the war, he explained, sitting at the kitchen table cluttered with letters. Thomas, your actions saved lives. We found records. You funneled funds to resistance groups, helping families escape. Thomas bowed his head, modesty veiling his pride. It was nothing, just a soldier doing what was right. The revelation drew media attention. Reporters camped outside, flashing cameras that invaded Eleanor's privacy like unwelcome ghosts. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in hues of orange, a journalist named Clara approached, her notebook in hand. Mrs. Hawthorne, how does it feel to uncover such history? Clara asked, her tone respectful yet probing. Eleanor, fortified by Thomas's presence, shared snippets, emphasizing the human cost over sensationalism. Amid the buzz, a twist emerged in the form of an unexpected visitor. Elias, a man in his 70s with a thick accent and kind eyes. He claimed to be a survivor Thomas had aided during the war, a Jewish boy hidden in attics, his passage funded by the very gold now unearthed. You saved my family, Elias said, embracing Thomas tearfully in the backyard where it all began. I searched for you for years. Elias's arrival shifted perspectives, adding layers of gratitude and sorrow. He brought photos of his descendants, a thriving family, tree-rooted in Thomas's bravery. Eleanor watched, her heart swelling with pride for the man she loved, but also aching for the years stolen. We could have shared this life, she murmured to Thomas that night, as they lay side by side for the first time in decades. The police investigation deepened, revealing Thomas's post-war life, living under an alias in a small town, tormented by PTSD, watching Eleanor from afar through mutual friends. I saw our daughter graduate, he confessed, voice breaking. But I couldn't intrude, thought I'd bring only pain. Eleanor's forgiveness was a balm, but it unearthed her own buried resentments. You left me to grieve alone, she said one stormy afternoon, tears mingling with rain on the windowpane. Their arguments were gentle storms, clearing the air for deeper understanding. Lily mediated, drawing parallels to her own life. Pain makes us hide, but love brings us back, she said, hugging them both. Mark, inspired, volunteered at a veterans center, channeling the family's story into action. As weeks passed, the backyard became a sanctuary. Neighbors, once suspicious, now visited with casseroles and stories of their own. Mrs. Jenkins confessed her loneliness, her husband gone 10 years. I called the police out of fear for you, and for myself, she admitted. Eleanor embraced her, forging a friendship from misunderstanding. The gold's value funded a foundation in Thomas's name, aiding war survivors. Elias joined as a board member, his testimony amplifying the narrative. Media coverage turned positive, highlighting themes of redemption and humanity's interconnectedness. Yet, shadows lingered. Thomas's health faltered, years of hardship caught up. Doctors diagnosed a weak heart, prescribing rest. Eleanor nursed him with the same tenderness she once gave wounded soldiers. We're making up for lost time, she whispered, holding his hand through sleepless nights. One evening, as fireflies danced in the yard, Thomas revealed another secret. A journal hidden in the box, detailing his espionage. I wasn't just a soldier, I infiltrated enemy lines. The pages spoke of close calls, moral dilemmas, and the toll on his soul. Reading aloud, his voice quivered, exposing vulnerabilities that humanized him further. Lily, recording it all for a book, felt the weight of legacy. This isn't just your story, it's ours, she said. The family bonded over edits, laughter punctuating tears. Detective Lang, becoming a friend, shared his grandfather's letters from Normandy. Heroes like Thomas remind us why we fight, he said. The connection bridged generations, emphasizing war's enduring scars. As autumn leaves fell, Eleanor and Thomas renewed vows in a quiet ceremony, surrounded by loved ones. Vows of forgiveness, presence, and eternal love echoed in the air. Lily and Mark reaffirmed theirs, inspired by the elders' resilience. But fate twisted again. Elias uncovered a letter suggesting Thomas had another Childa daughter from a brief wartime liaison, now living in Europe. The news stunned everyone. I never knew. Thomas gasped, guilt etching his face. Eleanor, after initial shock, extended grace. We've all made mistakes in darkness. Let's find her. The search began, emails flying across oceans. The potential sister, Anna, responded warily, her life marked by absence. Plans for a meeting brewed, promising more reunions. In quieter moments, Eleanor reflected on her digging night. What started as a solitary act of remembrance had blossomed into a web of connections, proving that buried truths, once unearthed, could heal rather than harm. The community event honoring Thomas drew crowds, speeches flowing with emotion. Elias spoke last. In a world of division, stories like this remind us of our shared humanity. Applause thundered, but Eleanor's eyes locked on Thomas, her heart full. As winter approached, the family prepared for Anna's arrival, anticipation mingling with nerves. Eleanor, stronger than ever, knew that love's garden, once tended, yielded endless blooms. Anna's plane landed on a crisp November morning, her figure emerging from the airport crowd like a ghost from the past. Tall and elegant, with Thomas's piercing eyes, she hesitated at the gate, scanning faces until she spotted the family. Eleanor stepped forward first, her arms open in welcome. "Child, you've come home," she said, voice thick with emotion, embracing the woman who represented both betrayal and possibility. Thomas, wheelchair-bound now, tears streaming, reached for Anna's hand. "Forgive an old fool," he whispered. Anna, 58 and a professor in Berlin, nodded slowly. "I've spent a lifetime wondering. Now I understand." The reunion unfolded in Eleanor's living room, amid stacks of letters and photos, as Anna shared her story, raised by her mother in secrecy, whispers of a heroic father fueling her curiosity. Lily, ever the bridge builder, facilitated conversations that wove pain into understanding. "We're all pieces of the same puzzle," she said, passing around tea. Mark documented it discreetly, his camera capturing raw emotions for the family archive. The addition of Anna brought fresh perspectives. Her academic insights into wartime history enriched Thomas's journal, turning personal anecdotes into scholarly gold. But integration wasn't seamless. Jealousy flickered in their daughter, Margaret Lily's mother, who arrived unannounced, her face a mask of resentment. "You abandoned us, Dad, and now this?" Margaret confronted Thomas, her voice echoing years of unspoken hurt. Eleanor mediated, drawing on her own forgiveness journey. "Pain multiplies if we let it. Let's choose healing." The confrontation climaxed in the backyard, under the oak tree's watchful branches. Margaret, tears flowing, hugged Anna tentatively. "I always wanted a sister." The twist of sibling discovery shifted dynamics, emphasizing family's expansive nature. Bonds formed over shared meals, laughter replacing tension as stories intertwined. Media interests surged again, with Anna's involvement adding international flair. A documentary crew filmed, capturing the human drama. Detective Lang coordinated security, his presence a reassuring constant. "This story's bigger than us," he confided to Eleanor. "It's about second chances." Thomas's health declined further, each day a precious gift. Eleanor read to him from his journal, her voice steady despite the ache. "You were brave, my love," she said, kissing his forehead. He smiled weakly. "You were my anchor." Community support swelled. Veterans groups organized visits, sharing camaraderie. Elias hosted a gathering, toasting to unsung heroes. "Thomas's legacy lives in all of us," he proclaimed, glasses clinking. Anna delved into the gold's origins, tracing it to Holocaust restitution funds. "This could help families still searching," she suggested. The foundation expanded, donations pouring in. Lily managed operations, her marriage thriving amid purpose. A subplot emerged with Officer Ramirez's return. He revealed his grandmother's connection, a nurse who knew Eleanor during the war. "She spoke of you often," he said, presenting a locket Eleanor had gifted her colleague. The artifact, engraved with hope, symbolized enduring friendships. As Christmas neared, the family decorated the home, lights twinkling like stars of redemption. Thomas, rallying briefly, shared war carols, his voice faint but joyful. Eleanor watched, heart overflowing with gratitude for the chaos that led here. Yet, tragedy loomed. On a snowy eve, Thomas passed peacefully in his sleep, Eleanor by his side. "Wait for me," she whispered, clutching his hand. Grief enveloped the house, but it was shared. Anna, Margaret, Lily, all united in mourning. The funeral was a celebration of life, attendees from near and far. Elias eulogized. "Thomas taught us that heroism isn't in grand gestures, but in quiet perseverances." Eleanor, veiled in black, spoke last. "Love doesn't end, it transforms." In the aftermath, the women leaned on each other. Anna stayed, co-authoring the book with Lily. Margaret reconciled fully, visiting often. The backyard, once a site of suspicion, became a memorial garden, planted with flowers symbolizing resilience. Eleanor's days filled with purpose, speaking at schools about history's lessons, emphasizing empathy. "Dig deep into your hearts," she told students, "and you'll find treasures worth more than gold." Mrs. Jenkins became a confidant, their friendship a testament to redemption. "I almost missed this," she said over tea. Eleanor smiled. "We all dig in the dark sometimes. The light comes after." As spring bloomed, Anna discovered another letter in the box, a poem Thomas wrote for Eleanor, undelivered. Reading it aloud, tears flowed. "In earth's embrace, our secrets sleep, but love awakens, promises to keep." The family scattered Thomas's ashes under the oak, closing a chapter while opening others. Lily announced her pregnancy, life cycling onward. "He'll know his great-grandpa's story," she said, hand on her belly. Eleanor's reflections deepened. The night's digging had unearthed not just artifacts, but the profound interconnectedness of human souls. In forgiving, loving, and sharing, they honored the past while embracing the future. The foundation thrived, aiding refugees worldwide, echoing Thomas's wartime efforts. Detective Lang retired, joining as a volunteer. "Your story changed me," he told Eleanor. On quiet evenings, Eleanor sat in the yard, shovel long retired, feeling Thomas's presence in the wind. "We did it, love," she murmured, peace settling like dew. Years blended into a mosaic of memories as Eleanor navigated life without Thomas, her spirit unbroken. At 87, she moved with deliberate grace, her home a haven for family gatherings. Lily's baby, a boy named Thomas Jr., brought squeals of joy that echoed through rooms once silent. "He has your eyes, Grandma," Lily said, cradling the infant as Eleanor cooed over him. Anna integrated fully, dividing time between Berlin and here, her research illuminating family history. "We've uncovered more." Thomas's network saved hundreds, she shared during a video call with collaborators. The book, Buried Promises, became a bestseller, royalties fueling the foundation. Reviews praised its emotional depth, calling it a beacon of human resilience. Margaret, softening with time, relocated nearby, mending maternal bonds. "I was angry at the world, Mom," she confessed one afternoon in the garden. Eleanor hugged her. "Anger is just love turned inward. Let it out." Their talks healed old wounds, fostering a closeness long denied. Community ties strengthened. The neighborhood formed a senior support group, inspired by Eleanor's story. Mrs. Jenkins led sessions, sharing her own losses. "You showed us vulnerability is strength," she told Eleanor. Veterans visited, exchanging tales that wove a tapestry of shared experiences. A new twist arrived via Elias's grandson, David, a young historian who unearthed documents linking Thomas to a forgotten resistance cell. "Your husband was a legend," David said, presenting artifacts at a foundation event. The revelation sparked international interest, with museums requesting loans of the letters. Eleanor traveled to Europe with Anna, visiting sites from Thomas's past. Standing in a French village he liberated, she felt his essence. "He walked here, fought here," she whispered, tears mingling with rain. Locals honored them, sharing stories that humanized history's abstractions. Back home, challenges arose. Health scares for Eleanor, a fall leading to a broken hip. Hospitalized, she reflected on mortality. "I've lived fully," she told Lily at her bedside. Recovery was slow, but family rallied, Mark adapting the house for accessibility. Officer Ramirez, now promoted, stopped by with updates. The case closed officially, but the impact lingers. He revealed a personal quest, tracing his family's war roots, inspired by Eleanor. You ignited that spark. As Thomas Jr. toddled, Eleanor shared simplified stories, planting seeds of empathy. Kindness changes the world, she said, bouncing him on her knee. Lily captured moments, compiling a family video diary. The foundation hosted galas, raising funds for education programs. Eleanor keynoted one, her voice steady. In darkness, we dig for light. What we find defines us. Applause thundered, but her reward was in attendees' teary eyes, lives touched, perspective shifted. Elias passed unexpectedly, his funeral a somber gathering. He was family. Eleanor eulogized, honoring their bond. His legacy merged with Thomas's, the foundation renaming a wing after him. Summers brought barbecues in the backyard, laughter drowning out past shadows. Anna brought her partner, introducing new dynamics. Love comes in many forms, Eleanor said approvingly. Detective Lang, in retirement, wrote memoirs including their story. Meeting you restored my faith in people, he dedicated. On her 90th birthday, surrounded by generations, Eleanor blew out candles with a wish for peace. Gifts included a custom shovel-engraved Digger of Truths, a humorous nod to that fateful night. Reflecting alone later, she paged through the book, marveling at the journey. From solitary grief to expansive love, her life exemplified humanity's capacity for growth. As seasons turned, Eleanor's influence rippled outward. Schools adopted her story in curricula, teaching values of forgiveness and courage. One woman's dig unearthed universal truths, a teacher wrote. In final quietude, Eleanor sat under the oak, feeling complete. Thank you, she whispered to the earth, the night, the stars. Her legacy, buried no longer, bloomed eternally. The family continued, carrying forward lessons of love's triumph over loss. In every hug, story shared, and act of kindness, Eleanor's spirit lived on, a testament to the profound beauty in human connections.